You may be seated. Welcome. Welcome, families and friends. Welcome, university faculty and staff. Welcome, distinguished guests, Dr. Mae Jemison and Dr. Vice Provost Lisa Garcia-Bedoya. And welcome, graduates. Welcome to the 2024 Berkeley School of Education commencement ceremony. We are thrilled to celebrate with you today. My name is Michelle Young, and I am the Dean of the Berkeley School of Education, and it is my distinct honor to be here with you this evening for this incredibly important event. We truly value the hard work and accomplishments of our 2024 graduates and the support of their loved ones who have traveled here from far and near to celebrate with us. So therefore, I'm going to begin with some guidance for this evening so that our graduates feel celebrated and our family and friends are able to fully enjoy their time with us. Please silence your phones. Stay in your seats and keep the aisles clear. And join me in embracing the Berkeley principles of community. It is also customary here at Berkeley to begin our commencement ceremony with a land acknowledgement. And I'm happy to say that this evening, Maria Rojas Concha, who is graduating with a PhD this year from the Berkeley School of Education, will provide the land acknowledgement for us this evening. Maria?
When the dean asked me, a non-native of this land, to offer a land acknowledgement, I was honored, but also terrified. I was eager to recognize that the University of California, Berkeley, sits in the territory of the Huichin, the ancestral and unceded land of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people, who continue to be flourishing members of the Bay Area community. But I was terrified because even though I understand that it is important to acknowledge that every member of the Berkeley community has and continue to benefit from the use and occupation of this land since the institution's founding in 1868, for many, land acknowledgement have become performative and meaningless repetitions that fail to disrupt colonial logics of dispossession and displacement. Today, I want to invite you all to move from acknowledgement to reparations. Since you or your loved ones have benefited from this land, I invite you to do three things. First, learn about indigenous peoples' spirituality, knowledge, and contributions. Second, teach about it. And third, pay your land tax. If you benefit from housing and food security, one way to do this is through the Shumi land tax. You are welcome to take out your phones and search. Pay Shumi land tax. I'm going to give you a few seconds so you can take out your phones, and I'm going to spell it for you. So it's S as Saturn, H as Hummus, U as Uranus, M as Mars, and I as Impact, land tax. Finally, let's continue the dialogue on how Berkeley can join the effort toward meaningful compensation for indigenous communities in pursuit of reconciliation and justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria, for those concrete examples of how to engage in reparation. Our event this evening offers an opportunity to recognize each of our incredibly impressive graduates. We are so proud of them. They've worked very hard to get here, and they are graduating from the best public school in the world. But more importantly, they have chosen a field that will allow them to transform lives. Let's tell them how proud we are of them. Let's tell them right now. Let me hear you say it. We are proud of you. We are proud of you. Let's say it again. We are proud of you. Yes, we are. We are proud of their hard work. We are proud of their achievements, their choices, and we in the Berkeley School of Education are proud and honored to have had the opportunity to work with each of them. Our schools are where our collective future is born. If we are to function as a society, our schools must serve as sacrosanct and safe spaces for students of all abilities and from all walks of life to have the opportunity to thrive. They must be places where students and educators can engage in the joy and the intellectual challenges of learning, in an environment where every individual is cherished and celebrated for exactly who they are. Each of our Berkeley graduates understands this simple truth. However, working in the field of education, though incredibly rewarding, is not an easy path. Resources and times are not infinite, and graduates, you will encounter and sometimes work right alongside people who do not share your values and ideals. But I firmly believe that you are uniquely positioned to succeed in spite of these challenges. And that is because of the type of people you are and how the Berkeley School of Education has further cultivated you and your talents. You arrived here compassionate and committed to transforming education and society for the better of all. Through your studies and research, you've extended your learning, you've deepened your commitments, and honed your ability to think outside the box for solutions to the complex challenges that our nation faces. You have learned to recognize, interrogate, and transform structures that limit and oppress. You know how to design and implement research on critical problems of practice, to hold space for all ideas, and to ensure that all voices are heard. Your intelligence and creativity, compassion, and know-how will keep you in demand anywhere in the world you wish to live and work. In short, you have become the kind of leaders, educators, school psychologists, scholars, and human beings that future generations so richly deserve. I have such confidence in your ability to make a difference, to educate like democracy depends on it, because we all know that it does. I am so glad that you chose Berkeley and allowed us the privilege of joining you on this academic journey, and I look forward to seeing you thrive as innovators and change makers in our field, people who create a better place, a better future for students from all walks of life. They need you, we need you, and the world needs you. Go forth and ignite a brighter world for all. As they say here at Berkeley, fiat lux, let there be light, and congratulations. Thank you. We have an inspiring lineup of speakers this evening. Our first speaker is Amy Eagle. As some of you know, Amy is a graduate of the Berkeley Teacher Education Program. And Amy, who comes from a family of educators, is committed to working with multilingual students and their families with integrity and authenticity. She loves the joy and curiosity that students bring to her and envisions working with children for a very long time. Amy values culturally responsive teaching and hopes to create a classroom space where students feel heard, represented, and inspired. Next fall, Amy will be teaching in a bilingual elementary school in the Mission District of San Francisco. Please join me in providing a very warm welcome to Amy Eagle.
Good evening and welcome. I feel extremely honored to have been asked to speak on behalf of Berkeley's Teacher Education Program. It could have been many of us up here sharing our experience, and as I share mine, I hope you find something to connect with your own time in our program. Friends, family, and people we belong to, I'm sure you're all wondering how we got the best, most creative, most brilliant and real future educators all in one program. Trust me, I was thinking the same thing all year. Our K-12 students are so lucky to have a group of exceptional educators ready to teach them, and I feel just as lucky to have learned beside them. I remember walking into class on the first day of our summer session nearly a year ago and trying to find where my home group was sitting as quickly as possible. Home group number 2. Avery, Jesus, and Sarah were my first tethers into a brand new space. I remember unfolding my name tent every day and putting it on the table amidst a sea of other personalized and colorful names. I remember holding the handheld mic and doing my best not to react when hearing my voice fill the room for the first time. I remember chatting with Diana, Sophia, and Julian after our first observations and debriefs. I felt awkward, excited, and a little mortified after watching a video of myself teaching for the first time. Thankfully, I had my faculty advisor and mentor, Manny, sitting next to me. He affirmed my discomfort and then intentionally nudged me into reflection and a commitment to growth. I reflect on who I was then and how it informed the kind of teacher I wanted to be. There were so many possibilities. The trajectory of how I developed as a teacher since that very first observation has not been a clear path. I was a comet that shot through space and crashed into everything as I made impact. I crashed into discomfort, non-closure, uncertainty, and vulnerability. And there are marks that remind me of that path. During my last takeover, a time when I assumed all roles and responsibilities of the lead teacher, I was in the middle of a lesson and I started to crash. I was using every attention getter I knew and still could not hold the focus of my students. I started to panic, frustrated, embarrassed, and a little defeated that my lesson was not going as planned. Manny, who was observing, calmly approached me in a moment of transition and asked if I was open to real-time feedback. I enthusiastically and desperately nodded, yes. He said, "You're being a little too nice. Be firm, stand in your authority. Find your teacher voice. It's there, it's in you, use it." In this moment, as Manny reminded me of my power, he was my bridge. In Transformative Arts, we read a piece of work called The Bridge Poem by Black queer feminist Kate Rushin. As a white cis woman, it's important for me to read the work of those whose voices are often excluded from mainstream storytelling. Proving that brilliant, truthful writing creates connection across identities, there is a line that resonated intensely with my journey this year, and it reads, "The bridge I must be is the bridge to my own power." When I first read this line, I connected to the essence of standing up for myself and believing in my own power. I spent the year surrounded by this group's authenticity and willingness to be vulnerable, inspired, yet sometimes feeling like an imposter. I had plenty of opportunities to learn from my mistakes and question my abilities to teach with the capacity that the BTEP faculty believed I could. Reading this poem reminded me of all the power I had accumulated this year. All I needed to do was connect myself to it. As a teacher, I constantly bridge. I bridge students to school, families to their students' learning, new content to background knowledge, languages to other languages. But I can only be this bridge, one that can transcend hardship and stay strong enough for others to cross, unless I have traced the path and memorized the route on the bridge to my own power. The bridge I must be is the bridge to my own power, so that I can be the person who holds the hand of my students as they cross the bridge to their own power. I want to be the person holding a sign with their name on the sidelines, cheering them on. I want to be able to nudge them a little closer to taking the first step over open water. Who helped you draw the blueprints for your bridge? Which person held your hand as you crossed it for the first time? Who passed you the tools you needed to rebuild your bridge after a storm? The bridge our students must be is the bridge to their own power. So ground yourself and reach out until you've reinforced every piece of a child's wavering bridge. Hold the hand of every child as they cross their bridge to their own becomings. I've been stretched far too thin between different worlds, let too many people walk over the bridge across my back. But those days are over. I belong in my power, and so do you, and so do they. Together, we can create suspension and connection across seas for generations to come. There are people who came before us, and people here now, who have helped each of us build or find a bridge to something. The bridges are there, and they're only the beginning. Cross them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you for reminding us of the importance of relationships and reflection and being the bridge of our power to others. Our second speaker this evening is Olufemi Ogundele. Femi is graduating this year with his Doctorate of Education from the inaugural cohort of the Leaders for Equity and Democracy doctoral program. In his capacity as Associate Vice Chancellor of Admissions and Enrollment here at UC Berkeley, Femi is a member of the Chancellor's Cabinet, and he oversees the offices of undergraduate admission, financial aid, the university registrar, the visitor center, and the Center for Educational Partnerships. Femi's vision and leadership in undergraduate admissions and outreach to the state's underrepresented, undocumented, underserved, and first-generation students has resulted in 4 straight years of record-breaking enrollment of the most ethnically and geographically diverse classes of students to Berkeley in 3 decades. Please join me in bringing a warm welcome to Femi.
All right. Good evening. I thought this was an auditorium full of people. Good evening. My name is Femi Ogundele, and I really appreciate you all being here this evening. I represent the Leaders in Equity and Democracy in Education doctoral program in the inaugural cohort, LEAD Cohort 1. The LEAD program recognizes that success of our democracy relies on equitable schools, which in turn rely on transformational system leaders. This program is specifically designed for scholar practitioners. And as simple as an idea as that may sound, LEAD is a profound concept that seeks to bring the best of education to the production of education. You see, the doctoral program and the doctoral experience is the pinnacle of an educational milestone. It requires more than we ever thought that we had, and more than we ever thought that we had to give. But in order to really make a difference in the huge system that is education, this program speaks to those who take on the responsibility of producing the educational environments that students are navigating. This program consists of practitioners who are currently in the roles that have the greatest opportunity and willingness to make and bring meaningful change. I think I speak for the entire cohort when I say what brought us to this program was the idea that through this experience, we would be able to make a greater impact, not just on the schools that we work in, but on the entire system of education. Being a scholar practitioner is not for the faint of heart. As practitioners, we know meaningful work without scholarship is fragile to current events, changes in leadership, and changes in funding. As scholars, we know that scholarship, oftentimes, no matter how insightful, without work, without truly being tested in real environments and amplified by practitioners, gets written off too often as too abstract or hollow to be considered impactful by those who need to implement them. But together, bringing seasoned practitioners to scholarship and making sure that research is focused on the right issues that are impacting the profession, their combined ability to change seemingly intractable systems and to inform dynamic change and scalable change is undeniable. Leaders in Equity and Democracy aims to fill the void of both by bringing together what is known with what is currently happening in education and those who aim to produce knowledge with those who drive the results. While we were focused on finishing and standing here before you all today, I would be remiss to say that through this experience, we lived the ideals and the goals of this program. Oftentimes when we talk about community in regards to people or in spaces. But community is also defined by time, the time in which we all connected. And let's be very clear about the time that this was. Like many who graduated this year, we had our COVID-19 classroom experiences. Long Zoom classes after long days. But COVID wasn't just in our scholarship, it was in our lives too. We had school leaders that worked to keep schools open so essential workers had a place to send their children during the day, bunching 3 to 4 classes in a single gymnasium because of the teacher shortages that were happening right here in the Bay Area. We had practitioners working to keep this institution open for low SES students who had a better learning environment in an empty residence hall than they might have had back at home where they lacked reliable Wi-Fi and other educational resources. We fought against standardized testing in college admissions, which disproportionately snuffs out the brilliance of Black, brown, and low-income students. We continue to fight for students and the right to express their opinions through protest on our college campuses and in high schools because we know that too often people are more interested in order than they are in justice. We fought, we toiled, and we won because we know that excellence and diversity are not mutually exclusive, but in fact you cannot have one without the other. And Martin Luther King said that when you see something that is not right, you must say something. You must do something. It's each of our part to help build what is called the beloved community. Additionally, while in quarantine, we endeavored through this program while the out loud racial reckoning of the Black Lives Matter movement was happening all in front of our faces. the violent and public recognition of a lauded system of policing in American democracy and its irregard and hatred for black youth, black men, and black children was happening in front of our faces. The idea of protect and serve was being questioned at best and shouted down through chants of "I can't breathe," "Justice for Breonna," and "No justice, no peace." I've never protested in my life, and I found myself on the streets of Oakland for days with a rage against the machine and a system that sought out the destruction of people who look like me. While in this program, it was impossible not to see this system and all of its failures and not think about the system that we occupy, the system of education that we hold up, the excuses that we make for the disproportionate outcomes that we, as career practitioners, produce. In the LEAD program, we believe in order to lead a system, you must be able to see it. And that is all of it. You see, there are no dress rehearsals for educators. We didn't get the benefit of observing someone else do it before we got there, or the time to think through all of the possible scenarios. And in unprecedented times, we were forced to do. We were called to act, making incredibly stressful decisions when the stakes were at their highest. It was in this time that our faculty challenged us not to get mad, but to get to work, to pour into the literature, find the solutions, and remember the power that we hold and the ability to put them into practice. We are challenged by our faculty and by each other to do what Bear Rustin called become angelic troublemakers, and take what we know and what we are learning and put it into practice. We leaned into the words of Bell Hooks, who said, "The academy is not paradise, but learning is a place where paradise can be created." As scholars, we kept our community through Zoom screens and face masks, physically isolated, but together as an intellectual and professional journey that we will remember for a lifetime. Late nights after early mornings, after some of the most trying days of our careers. We set up in-school wellness centers for students who were disproportionately disciplined in high schools. We traveled to refugee camps to find educational excellence in the most challenging parts of the world to bring them to our public universities. We joined research groups and published in peer-reviewed journals. Being in this program required us to push back on the status quo in all of our educational settings, and thinking of better ways in which we can design things for students rather than asking them to navigate our deficiencies. LEAD required this of us. We kept committed to our goals to be right here, before you all, representing cohort 1 of a provocative concept that is known as Leaders for Equity and Democracy in the doctoral program. Throughout our learning, what we did, we know will be studied for years to come. Our impacts will be researched and analyzed and turned into case studies because we lived it. We know that we will be that piece of data that is the outlier in that research because we lived it. LEAD is an embodied experience, a continuous cycle of improvement and to understand that you can't solve cross-sector problems with single-sector solutions. LEAD requires the best of us. As we stand here at the completion of this program, we recognize the responsibilities and the positions that we hold, the knowledge and the influences that we have to make a change. As members of this community, we will take this path forever, another provocative but simple understanding that as leaders in education, we either design systems for equity or we perpetuate inequity. And for us, that means holding each other, our colleagues, our schools, and our systems accountable to serve every single student that we interact with. To our esteemed faculty and the Berkeley School of Education, sincere gratitude for the time and the space that you gave us to grow into the scholars that we are. They say the worst patients are doctors, and I'm certain that the worst students are educators, without a doubt in my mind. And so I appreciate their patience, as well as their ability for us to create our scholarly identities to solve complex problems and remind us that we hold the power to shape the future for many generations to come. To our family, almost every time that we engaged as a cohort, we described how our families have supported us, held us up, put up with us, and pushed us to be here. I know if we had a chance to add your names to our diplomas, we would absolutely do that. But since we can, we want to call you out here today. For those that we lost, I know that there are people here with us today that are unseen, but are absolutely felt deeply. Parents, siblings, grandparents, family members, mentors. We continue to mourn you at events like this because we know that you would be here cheering us on. but we thank you for the love that you have given us and the memories that fuel us and remind us the importance of living with purpose and with passion. To Cohort 1, second to none, scholars, practitioners, if leading was easy, everybody would do it. We know that. But leading is not what we do. It is who we are. It is our calling. Let's never confuse movement with progress and always continue to push to make education better, because we know how many hopes and dreams are relying on us to fix the systems just to give them a chance. And when the times get hard and the mountains feel steep, when the wind is in your wings beginning to blow and swirl us in all of the directions, just remember that turbulence is the price we pay for flying high. Congratulations, we did it, and I'll see you at work.
Thank you, Femi, for those important reminders about living one's leadership and the role that we must all play in building the beloved community. I would now like to invite Professor Travis Bristol to introduce our keynote speaker this evening, Dr. Mae Jemison.
Good evening. Before I turn to the introduction of our keynote commencement speaker, I want to acknowledge my colleagues who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that Dr. Mae Jemison could deliver today's commencement keynote. Thank you to Allison Cesario, Christina Bermudez, Maya Woodson-Turman, Dara Tom, Ashley Leach, Malika Jalili, and of course, our Dean, Michelle Young. Thank you. How do you introduce a living legend? A shero, astronaut, engineer, entrepreneur, physician, and educator, Dr. Mae Jemison is at the forefront of integrating the physical and social sciences with art and culture to solve problems and foster innovation. Dr. Jemison, the first woman of color in the world to go into space. I'll say it a little louder for the folks in the back. Dr. Jemison, the first woman of color in the world to go into space. Served 6 years as a NASA astronaut on the Space Shuttle Endeavour in September 1992. She performed experiments in material science, life sciences, and human adaptation to weightlessness. 3 years ago, when I first met Dr. Jemison and described seeing her picture in the Afrocentric elementary school I attended in Brooklyn, she said, "I am more than that image of a black woman in an orange spacesuit." Before joining NASA, Dr. Jemison was the Area Peace Corps medical officer for Sierra Leone and Liberia, as well as a general practice physician in Los Angeles. In 1994, Dr. Jemison founded the International Science Space Camp, the Earth We Share, for 12 to 16-year-olds from around the world. In collaboration with the Los Angeles Unified School District, the Earth We Share trained hundreds of middle school teachers in experiential science education and thousands of middle school students. Dr. Jemison currently leads the 100-Year Starship, a bold, far-reaching nonprofit global initiative to assure that the capabilities exist for human travel beyond our solar system to another star within the next 100 years. Dr. Jemison is building a multifaceted global community to foster the cultural, scientific, social, and technical commitment, social and financial framework to accomplish the 100-Year Starship vision, which is an inclusive, audacious journey that transformed life here on Earth and beyond. Dr. Jemison is a member of the U.S. National Academy of Medicine and an honorary member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She serves on the board of directors for the National Board of Professional Teaching Standards, and in that role, I've witnessed Dr. Jemison push the board and the organization to ensure that teachers, particularly teachers of color, have the enabling conditions to achieve board certification. Fun fact, Dr. Jemison was the first real astronaut to appear on the Star Trek TV series. Dr. Jemison has a BS in chemical engineering and has fulfilled requirements for a BA in African and Afro-American studies from Stanford University. We won't hold that against you. She earned her MD from Cornell University. To the 2024 graduates at the Berkeley School of Education, it is my honor and privilege to welcome Dr. Mae Jemison to deliver the commencement keynote.
Thank you. Wow. I am really excited to be here with you today, and it's really an honor because right now, as you graduate, you're allowing me to share with you some very particular special times with you and your family, not just your biological family, but your family, your community, and spirit. And even though I still get the willies whenever I say Berkeley, but that's okay. I am really proud of what happens in California and what is happening here today. When I was coming and was asked to be the speaker, I had to try to figure out what I was going to talk about. A lot of what I was going to talk about has already been said, but that's okay. I'm going to repeat some of it. But the first thing I want to say is congratulations. Congratulations to the University of California, Berkeley School of Education 2024 graduates. Dean Young, faculty, alumni, parents, guests, and graduates, I am so privileged to be with you today. And again, thank you for allowing me to share with you this very special day. The graduates of this school have the most critical, impactful, pivotal work to do today and the years to come. That's in the world. Your work, education in all its forms, are foundational to everything we are, everything we will become, to society. Now, this is a statement of fact. This isn't just because I want to say it. This is a statement of fact. And today I want to talk with you a little bit about my thoughts and ideas about education, what I've learned in the world about education, and just some things that I've been thinking about. And I'm going to use, to formulate some of this, quotes from three remarkable women from Alabama to anchor my comments. Each one of these women are a little offset from the other, but their views of the world, their lives have impacted me greatly. And I'll let you know when I come to them. But first, let me share with you a little bit more of my educational pedigree, a little bit more than was said, things you need to know about me. I was born in Alabama at the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement. I'm the youngest of 3 children, and my older sister is a child and adolescent psychiatrist. So that tells you something about what happened to me as I was growing up. I grew up on the south side of Chicago during the 1960s. My mother was a school teacher in the Chicago public schools for over 25 years. I went to what may have been classified as one time or another some of the best and the worst schools in the United States, whether it was Chicago Public Schools, Stanford University, Cornell, as you said, or thinking about places where I taught. I taught at Dartmouth College as an environmental studies professor, and yes, I taught healthcare to Peace Corps volunteers in Sierra Leone and Liberia, and self-care for asthma patients in a Cambodian refugee camp in Thailand. I started the International Science Camp, the Earth We Share, a science camp, which was about science literacy to train teachers. I sat on public boards. I had to learn about the National Board of Professional Teaching Standards. Astronaut training was another learning and educational experience. And going back, learning how to be on public boards, business plans. All of these are part of education. and just living in the world every day. Because we have to remember, education doesn't just happen when we tell people to pay attention, when they're sitting in classrooms. Education happens all the time, what we see around us. And that's also what we have to deal with when we're formally training people. What did I get from my formal education? Well, I got facts and basic skills and knowledge about mathematics, science, history, all of those kinds of things. But what I mainly got that I think is particularly important as I went to public schools and other places was socialization. Learning how to interact with lots of different people from different places. That was critically important. And the main thing I learned comes from a Yoruba proverb that says, even the sharpest blade can't cut its own handle. You see, I was a pretty bright little girl, but there's no way that I could live up to my potential, to my ambitions, without the help of teachers and others. You see, that's what this is about. We have this incredible set of potentials in everyone in the world, but they become useful. They become able to develop by the support that we give them, the support that the world provides to us. Now, I think someone said graduation is a transition from one time to another, so I'm going to move on. But here's the thing. The world that you're transitioning in, I know that some of you have been out in the world, most of the people who are getting masters or graduate degrees, you've already been out in the world. But I just have to say something about the world you're getting into. Here's the deal. The good news and the bad news is that so much of what's going on in the world today, in the vast, vast majority of the severe challenges that are shaking the world today are due to the choices we humans have made, our actions. And like it or not, most of us on this stage, in this audience, or those graduating today in this country will have an outsized role in what happens next. Now, here's the good news. The good news is that we get to choose, and every day we get a choice. The bad news is that we can choose, and we do so every day, but often by habit or rote. And we do that while telling ourselves, you know, I individually, maybe I can't make a difference. You know, or everyone else is doing it, so I might as well benefit from it too. Let me give you a little survey where we are today. We're in this paradox between things that seem like we have a paradoxical world where it seems like there are too many things going on, or, okay, this is an example, abundance and scarcity. We are living in a time in this world where we have more knowledge, more capabilities than any other time in human history. We have more resources at our disposal, yet we're operating on an idea of scarcity, where we don't think everyone can participate or have the ability to share in this bounty. We're in a world with fear and want, right? There's a paradox. We want to help others, but we're afraid of people. We have swings of the most insular behaviors, where people want to just sort of sit on the side and say, I just want to keep all of this to myself. I don't want anybody to really push me in terms of my thoughts and ideas. We're afraid sometimes to just hear another thought or another way of looking at things. Why? I don't know. Because it's from those perspectives that we get to move forward. And in the world, I see an amazing amount of hope as well. And one of those things with hope dealt with, you know, what we're seeing around the college campuses this year. So I grew up in the 1960s, and I wasn't an actual hippie. I wasn't quite old enough to be a hippie. I was sort of a wannabe growing up. But what I saw around me was a world that was changing rapidly, and that people were declaring their right to participate, their right to determine where the world goes. It wasn't anarchy. It was just a desire to change the systems. What I see this year, when people are talking about student protests, whichever way they are, it's about students being aware and awake and knowing what's happening in the world. In some kind of way, the word being awake has become a bad thing. I ask you not to sleep your way through life. That's not what we want to do. The wicked truth is that we have so much more to do in this world. People have been caring about the world. It's okay to care. In fact, it's important that we have empathy and that we care about things. Now, I heard that we started off a number of people during the COVID pandemic, right? And we had to do things back and forth during classes. But here's the thing about COVID that I thought was really very interesting. The pandemic made us re-examine what jobs are actually essential in this world. We found out that agriculture workers, healthcare workers, grocery store cashiers and staff, first responders, and teachers, and evidently people who make toilet paper, are essential. You know, the other part of it is we got on a first name basis with corona and viruses and all of this kind of thing. I had a friend of mine call me from New York who would never talk about statistics and viruses, and she was talking about all the stats and things like that. But here's the other piece. Corona also prompted many people to confess, not only am I not smarter than a fifth grader, but kindergartners are kind of rough and should be taught by experts. This is a time where we said we were really happy to have teachers and educators there, and then we started to forget again. Our educational outcome in our system must educate students and citizens to be resilient, think critically, and be able to encounter different viewpoints, some of those which may depart radically from what we want to hear. We have to be able to emerge on the other side, whole, having been able to maintain a strong moral compass with our integrity intact, and evolved enough to communicate ideas in a manner appropriate to the circumstances and to take actions that are beneficial to our entire world. Now, when I think about this, a lot of what we've been seeing in the world is belligerent ignorance. That is, I don't want to learn anything else. I know everything I know. My perspective is the only one that's reasonable. But it's not just perspective, it's how we see the world, it's what we share. Now, my first Alabama quote is from Zora Neale Hurston, who was an anthropologist in the 1940s. And yes, she was. And she said, truth is a letter from courage. And she also said that the present was an egg that was laid by the past with the future inside its shell. So today, what we're doing, what you're teaching right now is going to impact that future. So every day, we need to be putting our best foot forward so that the future will be one that's very hopeful, but also that will make the present better. My second quote is from Helen Keller, also from Alabama. She said, "Science has found no remedy for the worst evil of them all, the apathy of human beings." Human apathy toward one another is outrageous, and we show it all the time these days. Human apathy towards one another is outrageous, but perhaps it's recoverable. However, the apathy displayed on an ongoing basis daily of how globally, an apathy toward how globally our lives and our well-being are inextricably connected and woven into the fabric of this planet Earth and connected to the greater universe, that apathy is belligerently suicidal. I say that because that connectedness is not a choice, it's a reality. It's a reality, y'all know me because of space, right? And the cute orange flight suit picture. But the reality is that we cannot go anywhere in this universe without taking the earth with us. And for tens of generations to come, the vast, vast majority of humans will live on this planet. And so we have to understand that relationship that we have to this planet. We have choices, real choices to use our science, our resources, and our potential to help this planet. You all may have seen the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, right? They have things like increased biodiversity, education for girls, clean water for everyone. And there's nothing on that list. I'd ask you to look at it sometimes. There's nothing on that list that we do not know how to do right now. But yet we make choices every day that start to ensure that we're not going to be able to make it past the tipping point where the climate is going to change so radically that our food sources are going to be compromised. And our food sources start in the oceans. Yet the real choices we have, we squander them in the guise of clever economic schemes, business urgencies, greed, and selfishness. So y'all don't know, think I'm skirted around this. I know about space. So when people talk about space, very frequently, they look at it as some kind of way, something that is antithetical or that it takes away from the rest of our society. And then if I start to talk about interstellar space, like that's going from our solar system to another star, which has nothing to do with going to the moon, except for, some of the environments are the same, but the distances are so great that it's like nothing that we've ever done. You may have heard of Voyager, which was launched in 1977. I think the Voyagers are the coolest things we've ever done. Voyager has been traveling at over 35,000 miles per hour since 1977. And it has just left our solar system. And if you were to look at it, like between going from the sun to our closest neighboring star, Alpha Centauri, and you thought about that distance as the distance from Los Angeles to New York City, Voyager would have only gone 1 mile. It would take Voyager 50,000 years to get to another solar system, to get to Alpha Centauri. So it's completely different. That's what excited me so much about it. Because for me, it represents everything we need to do to achieve interstellar capabilities. I'm not trying to launch the USS Enterprise, but I'm trying to make sure that we have the capabilities for human interstellar flight within 100 years, because all of those capabilities are required for what we need to survive in this world. We have to be able to create lots more energy. It has to be through fission, which we do now, breaking atoms apart, but we have to be able to store and control it and do it safely. Our fusion, which powers the sun, which we really don't know how to do. I know some folks here at Berkeley, kind of close, but we don't know how to do it well. Our antimatter, which, yes, antimatter is real, and even though it's powering the Starship Enterprise, but antimatter, each one of those is a step above what we have, an order of magnitude more of what we can create with energy this way. We have to look at behavior, economics, to be able to invest for things over a long period of time. We have to understand the microbiome in our body. We need to understand education. And how do we contribute to this world? And then the other part of going interstellar is that we're going someplace that we don't know, where 90% of it is dark. Think about it. Yeah, and again, I know I'm at Berkeley, and people said we know about dark matter, dark energy, but really, all the physicist friends is sort of a fudge factor that we have in place to make our equations work out. But isn't that like going into the future? So much of it is dark. We don't know what it is, but if we carry some principles with us, it makes a difference. Those differences that it makes, or if when we're resilient, we look at being flexible, we look at using new ideas in different ways, we look at having a depth of knowledge. We look at it using a robust set of, or compass of where we're going. All of those things are part of it, and that's part of how we go to the future. And a major part of this is education. So we were really excited with 100 Year Starship to host, along with Dr. Bristol, something we called Guardians of Pedagogy that was sponsored with the National Board of Professional Teaching Standards, where we talked with teachers about what do they do in this world where books are banned, where they're not allowed to teach about the civil rights. We can't, some places don't want you to teach about Rosa Parks, right? Or Cesar Chavez, or any of these things that we know are part of our world, what made our country able to be in the place it is today. And then I live in Houston, and just before I left, Spring Independent School District, which is the third largest district in Houston, in Texas, not Houston, in Texas, changed the curriculum. They renewed 13 chapters from the science book curriculum because it mentioned words like depopulation, culture, and diversity, vaccinations, climate change. They needed to rewrite that themselves. Here's the thing, scientific and technology advances don't come full form. They're not just sitting in the sky waiting for us to find them. It's how we decide to take advantage of our resources that's the crux of the matter. But what science we research and what technology we develop depends on the people we are. It depends on our society. This is where we are today. How do we want the world to advance? What things do we want to have happen? I need to just give you a couple of other things before I close out, things that I've been thinking about. We have to be careful about assigning to nature issues that are profoundly grounded in nurture. So many times we want to attribute how well a student does, how well a group of people do, based on something that we found in the genes, and we want to not have anything to do with what happened in society. And I'm not just talking about in intellect, I'm talking about even in our biology, in our results in health and outcome. I want to suggest to you one other thing, then this is really important. Don't substitute algorithms for your own critical capacities to think and observe. I know it's really seductive, right? To put that in and say, I'm going to get it, and now they have AI, and I'm going to put it in and let it make a sentence for me or some artwork, and we're going to bypass things. Make sure that you think through and understand something. I want you to reconcile that we are part of nature. We're not outside of nature. That's really important. Because so frequently we think of humans, we like to say we're different from other animals in life. People say that animals aren't sentient and aware of themselves in time. I think folks who say that clearly have never interacted with a cat, watched a cat, been fortunate enough to be a human friend of a cat, or AKA the cat's servant. Think through discomfort. Discomfort is not just to be avoided at all costs. Discomfort is a signal that something is wrong and worthy of examination. The resolution for that is not to hide in a corner. And again, what we do with science depends on who we are. Women are more valuable than their bodies and have an unassailable right to determine to what use they put their body and what grows inside of it. And I have a confession. And a confession is, as vocal as I like to believe I am, from time to time, I have chosen to focus on certain areas, or not focus on others, because I believe surely somebody has that. And we're finding out, the people who had it are not the ones we want to hold on to it, right? Don't ever remove yourself from being able to make comments. Make sure that when you have your place at the table, you use it to make comments, to bring your skills and your perspective to bear. This is really pivotal to the world we live in. Keep your word. It's not okay to willingly dissemble and lie about important public policies, issues as a public servant or as an individual, period, with responsibilities. If your intention cannot be said in the light of day, then perhaps you need to reevaluate it. And I'm not talking about holding yourself up to martyrdom and persecution, but when your actions are going to impact others, especially those that you're supposed to be working on behalf of, have integrity and graciousness. Is this naive? I don't think so. The duplicity that we're dealing with in the public sphere does not allow for us to move forward in a way that, in a world that we want to be in. We have to really pay attention to where we're moving. And then finally, my last quote from a woman from Alabama is from Dorothy Jemison, my mother. Like I said, who was a school teacher in Chicago Public Schools for 25 years. I had the best time going to school with her and, you know, sitting in on, they used to call them record days. I don't know what they call them now, and I'd pretend to teach school and things like that. But my foundation that puts together International Science Camp The Earth We Share, that holds many other programs, it was named after her, the Dorothy Jemison Foundation for Excellence. And it was named that because she said, helping each student to truly achieve their own level of excellence must be the objective of all educators. To merely offer the goal to be number one is foolish. Everyone cannot be number one, and it fails to demand the best of everyone, even those who are number one. This is one of the things that I believe on and I've taken with me all the time. Every day, things are happening, and as you graduate and you leave here, there are gonna be many times where you feel that maybe things are just not right, right? As living creatures, we're both tenacious and fragile. So I want you to make sure that your choices and actions are imbued and steeped in that understanding. We're tenacious and fragile. Actions in the past have created our world today, but the beauty is that our actions we take today will create our world tomorrow. Our actions are anchored in our fears, knowledge, loves, hope, faith, experiences, resources, skills, access, capabilities, and what makes us happy. I want you to do a 360-degree around on yourself as often as you can. Life is not static, so graduation is a transition you're involving, but learn every day. The trick is to continue to grow to be the person you want to be, not the job you want, the person you want to be. I'm going to share with you one thing about my space flight. It was this incredible platform to see the Earth and see my connection to the universe. I vividly remember looking out the window of the shuttle and seeing this planet with this thin, iridescent layer of blue light. The planet sort of was lit with from within. And one time we flew through the southern lights. You know, the northern lights, right? We were seeing them all over the country because of our interaction with what? The sun? Part of our universe. And in looking at a slightly different direction, I recognized my connection to a star system that might have been 10,000 light years away. And it felt right. And I often look up at the sky with wonder, as I used to do when I was a child, today, because it helps me to reconnect to the universe and to the world. I share with you this today because the connection to the greater universe is something that I wish for you throughout your lives. Time has a paradox, but while our time is limited, it has infinite possibilities, and we get to choose what to do with each one of those seconds we make. We have the ability to be hopeful. We have ability to have a vision of inclusion and self-responsibility. And I hope that no matter what work you do, that you never forget to look up from time to time. Look up from the device. Every language, the word look up is not just the physical act, it also has this act of something better ahead that's focused. So when deadlines loom, or someone is sick, or the bills need to be paid, injustice looms, it's easy to get caught up and forget who you are, why you're here, and what's most important to you. If you ask most people what they want, they will probably say something about being happy. Yet we expend so much energy and invest so much time being unhappy about the food we're eating, the way someone is talking to us, how we look, or how hard things are at work. We forget that happy is not something that is given to us by others. It is a choice that we get to make every day. So look up at the sky, the clouds, beyond the sun to the moon, the stars when you need to recharge your spirit. Let the gravity of this planet Earth give you a hug when you're feeling low. Look up and remember what inspired you, why you're doing this in the first place. Because if you can keep that sparkle in your eye, that dancing energy of aliveness and possibility, long past this day, you'll be well on your way to a magical life, a life full of love, service, connection, and meaning, a life that will contribute. Congratulations, graduates of the University of California, Berkeley School of Education.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Jemison, for those inspiring words. Let's give her one more round of applause. Remember, your choices matter. We are so delighted to have our very own Professor Lisa Garcia-Bedoya with us here this evening to confer our graduate degrees. In addition to being a distinguished professor in the Berkeley School of Education, Professor Garcia-Bedoya is Berkeley's Vice Provost for Graduate Studies and Dean of the Graduate Division. In her scholarship, she uses tools of social sciences, in particular political science, to reveal the causes of educational and political inequalities in the United States, considering differences across lines of ethno-race, gender, class, and geography. She believes in an intersectional and interdisciplinary approach is critical to recognizing the complexity of the contemporary United States. Vice Provost Garcia-Bedoya is without question one of campus's most transformational leaders. Under her leadership, the Graduate Division now leads with policies that ensure excellence, equity, and diversity in the admission and retention of the world's most promising students, Berkeley graduate students. Let's give a warm welcome to Professor and Vice Provost Lisa Garcia-Bedoya.
Thank you so much, Dean Young, for that lovely introduction, and congratulations, graduates. I wanted to start by asking you to just take a second and just be. If we can all just take a deep breath, hold it for a sec, let it out. I'm guessing you've spent your day running around, organizing family, figuring out how to keep the tam on your head, all the things. And so I want to encourage you to spend a moment being instead of doing. And I think that one of the challenges of Berkeley is that we tend to focus, I think, maybe a bit too much on the doing the next paper, getting the next degree, completing the next task, rather than enough on how to just be and be present. So I hope you give yourself that moment right now to just be present in this experience and this accomplishment that you've all worked so hard to get to. And you are most welcome. And in honor of that, I want to read you an excerpt of a poem called The Invitation by Oriah Mountain Dreamer, which I think for me at least has been very meaningful in thinking about how to be. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dreams, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain, yours or mine. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning me to be more careful, be realistic, or to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it's not pretty every day, and if you can source your life only from the presence of the divine. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours or mine, and still stand on the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after a night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done for the children. It doesn't interest me who you are or how you are here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in those empty moments. So what I take from this poem is the need to have grace both with myself and others, and to remember that it's not about the doing, it's about the being, and centering your work in what really matters, which for me is love and the relationships we have with people and our ability to have an impact on those people every day. And I think no one leads with love the way that educators do in our society. And so I want to say that I wish you joy in every day, the ability to see beauty even when things get hard, and the grace to give yourself permission to fail, and also to allow others to as well. And I wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors, and thank you for letting me be a part of this celebration today. Congratulations to the class of 2024, and go Bears.
Thank you, Vice Provost Garcia-Bedoya. And now we are going to confer our credentials and degrees. Now, for graduate students, this involves a very special recognition, what is referred to as the hooding ceremony. During the ceremony, a faculty member places the hood over the head of the graduate. This signifies success in completing the program. You may notice the different academic attire worn by various faculty here this evening. The styles and colors and even the headwear is determined by the institutions from which they graduated and their academic departments. The hoods that the students will be wearing were specifically designed for their degree programs here at the University of California, Berkeley, and the light blue trim on the hood signifies the field of education. Distinguished Professor and Head Graduate Advisor Mark Wilson will assist with the recognition of the candidates. So will the candidates for the Master's of Arts degree please rise and come forward to be hooded?
The following candidates are receiving the Master of Arts degree in Education with a concentration in Cultural Studies of Sports in Education. They will be hooded by program faculty, Professor Derek Van Reenen. first, Joshua Dryden. Next is Kylie Kerr. George Munro. Leilani McIntosh. The following candidate is receiving the Master of Arts degree in Education with a concentration in Policy, Politics and Leadership and will be hooded by Bruce Fuller. Sophie Johnson. The following candidate is receiving the Master of Arts degree in Education with a concentration in Policy, Politics and Leadership and will be hooded by Talani Britton. Ella Crawford. The following candidate is receiving the Master of Arts degree in Education with a concentration in Critical Studies of Race, Class and Gender. Emilio Licone Alvarado will be hooded by Laura Stoponi. The following candidate is receiving the Master of Arts degree in Education with a concentration in Learning Science and Human Development. They will be hooded by me. And the first one is Sharif Sayed. The following candidate is receiving the Master of Arts degree in Education with a concentration in Social Research Methodologies. Ching Tsai, and she will also be hooded by me. The following candidates are from our Berkeley Teacher Education Program, BTEP, and they will also be receiving an elementary teaching credential. The first is Sophia Ariola. They are hooded by Kylie Beckham and Manny Herrera. The next one is Skylar Atkinson. The next one, Elva Martina Camacho. The next one is Leslie Cortez Sanchez. The next one you've already met, Amy Olita Rose Eagle. Sorry. Rose Eagle. She's got four. The next one is Christopher Juan Flores. And the next one is Diana Giselle Gallardo Bracamontes. Next one is Diana Elizabeth Garcia. The next one is Catherine Bonhiku. The next one is Julian Marino Masi. The next one is Sarah Rashti. And the next one is Samantha Rome. And Fiona Rose Saraboff. The following Masters candidates are from our Berkeley Teacher Education Program, BTEP, and they will also be receiving a secondary teaching credential in English or Social Science. The first is Pan Kiao Bunchai Yapuk. They are being hooded by Kylie Beckham, Chela Delgado, and Fatima Salahuddin. The next one is Natalie Marley Brunel. And Chelsea Bustos. And Tyler Cardenas. and Ava Dobbs. Very brave. And the next one is Julia Wool. The next one is Avery Finch. The next one is Cheyenne Togi Seles Gorga. I don't know if that was right. And the next one is Jordan Lee. And the next one is Maria Isabel Lopez. And Jesus Manuel Morales. The next one is Natalie Navarro. The next one is Raylene Prendiz. And the next one is Joseph Rodriguez. And the next one is Cole Santos Geek Suarez. And the next one is Jasmine Tuptim Thompson. She was nervous, I think. And Samantha Valentine. The following master's candidates are from our Berkeley Teacher Education program, and they will also be receiving a secondary teaching credential in math or science. They are hooded by Kylie Beckham and Nevis Wetzel de Ciel. The first one is Michael Carlson. The next one is Sarah Wu Cheng. And Erica Granger. The next one is Gabriella Irena Moran. The next one is Christopher Yoon. The following master's candidates are from our Principal Leadership Institute program, and they will also be receiving an Administrative Services credential. They will be hooded by program faculty Jabara Mahari, Rebecca Chung, and Soroya Sablon Sutton. The first is Jeffrey Diesel. And the next one is Olivia Lokhandwala. And the next is Courtney McLaughlin. And next is Melissa Phillips. And next is Jacob Reed. And the next is Kelly Riggs. And the next is Casey van der Lijschot. Van der Lijschot. Oh. I think I said that. And the next is Iris Velasco Wilkes. And the last of the master's degree is Casey Zapata. Thanks.
Now we get to the good part. Will the candidates for Master of Arts degree please stand? By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you your Master of Arts degree. Congratulations. You may now move your tassel from the right to the left.
Thank you, Vice Provost Garcia Bedoya, and congratulations, Masters of Arts graduate. You may be seated. And now I am pleased to present the Doctor of Education candidates. Will the Doctor of Education candidates please rise?
We're going to do something a little different for the doctoral candidates. When they're being hooded, they will be a short summary of what they accomplished here and what they plan to do will be read out by Professor Glenda Hull. We request that you wait till she's finished before lots and lots of clapping, just so we can all hear the interesting things that they have done and they plan to do. The first is Tamua Kiroz, and she will be hooded by Professors Erin Murphy-Graham and Leahy Rosenthal.
Tu Moha is many things. She is an experienced public school educator, currently helping lead the Roseville Union High School District as its assistant superintendent. She is a Hmong woman, mother, wife, daughter, and community member. She is a scholar whose dissertation research on the risk and resilience factors impacting women of color superintendents is a critical addition to the field. And above all, Tu is her ancestors' wildest dreams. They and we are so proud of you. Congratulations.
The next is Monica Hall Thomas, to be hooded by Professors Bruce Fuller and Leahy Rosenthal.
A key question motivates Monica's inquiring mind and warm heart: how to equip school principals to nurture effective teachers, to build school cultures that lift all students. A fresh discovery surfaced from her doctoral research. District-level managers can fall short building real and inspiring relationships with school principals, inadvertently sinking technical strategies for improving schools. Monica now returns to Oakland Unified, skilled in mentoring principals to deepen connections with teachers and kids. Go, Monica.
The next is Melissa Itzel Vereta Ayala.
A graduate of the LEAD program, Melissa is an equity and social justice leader. In her dissertation, she combined her training as a school psychologist and a school administrator with a disability critical race theory lens to examine how the training of school psychologists can better prepare them for racial equity leadership and disrupting disproportionality. Her work is a step towards disrupting notions of difference as disability in education systems. Congratulations, Melissa.
The next is Tyler Francis Graf, to be hooded by Professors Travis Bristol and Özge Hatzifazelioglu.
In his application to the BSE, Tyler wrote, "With the right people, culture, and practices in place, we can create the educational systems that our communities deserve." His dissertation, titled Untapped Potential, elegantly details how teacher leaders balance care and complexity in their schools. Tyler's work shows us that the right people are all around, but need resources and opportunities to thrive. Congratulations, Tyler.
The next is Mai C. Lee, to be hooded by Chunyan Yang and Travis Bristol.
Maisi, your path-breaking work merging Asian critical theory and crisis management will inform leaders in addressing racial violence and crisis and fostering inclusive learning environments, especially for AAPI communities. Beyond your academic achievements, we are always inspired by your unwavering dedication to fostering inclusive and equitable spaces and your ability to uplift and empower those in your community. It's been an inspiring journey of research and self-discovery working alongside you. Congratulations.
The next is Kesa Early, to be hooded by Professor Jabari Mahiri and Derek Van Reenen.
A principal in the Novato Unified School District, Kesa did a uniquely focused study of complexities of school and district leaders' communications through the lens of classified staff. This research fills a key gap in academic literature on school leadership with its exploration of district-wide communication from the perspective of classified staff. In addition to being a full-time school site administrator, Kesa completed her doctorate in LEAD while being the mother of 3 children. Congratulations, Kesa.
The next is Nevis Wetzel D. CDL. To be hooded by Professor Jabari Mahiri and Professor Saroya Seblo Saton.
Nevis believes that higher education leaders make a choice to either go along to get along or to endeavor to do what is necessary to catalyze equitable interventions and repair for students, teachers, and school leaders alike. Her doctoral study in the LEAD program explores liberatory and transformative perspectives and strategies for educational leaders through systematic methods for realizing courageous and embodied arts-based teacher education development. Congratulations, Nevis.
And the next one you've met before, Olufemi Ogundele. To be hooded by Professors Jabari Mahiri and Lisa Garcia Bedoya.
In January 2019, Femi was hired as Assistant Vice Chancellor and Director of Undergraduate Admissions at UC Berkeley. Under his leadership, by 2021, Berkeley had admitted its most ethnically diverse freshman class in 30 years. This 40% increase is now referred to in scholarship on diversity as the Femi effect. His doctoral study in the LEAD program extends this scholarship. It's titled Cracking the Code, Chief Admissions Office's Solutions for Inclusive STEM Admissions in Public Research Universities. Congratulations, Femi.
And the final EDD is Samuel Santos Jr., to be hooded by Professors Talani Britton and Lisa Garcia Bedoya.
Samuel's work explores the leadership journeys for queer men of color serving as community college presidents. Samuel, we appreciate your quiet efficiency, your willingness to ask questions, your reflective posture, and the ways in which you have persevered in the face of deep challenges. We know that your leadership will create more inclusive campus environments for students in higher education. Congratulations, Samuel.
Skip a part. Okay. Will the candidates for Doctor of Education degree please stand? By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you your Doctor of Education degree. Congratulations. Woo!
Thank you, Vice Provost Garcia Bedoya. And congratulations, Doctors of Education graduates. You may be seated. Now, I am pleased to present the Doctor of Philosophy candidates. Will the Doctor of Philosophy candidates please rise?
And we'll have the same procedure here for the PhD candidates as well. Glenda Hull will read out a short summary of what they've done and what they've accomplished and what they're going to do. So please hold your applause until she's finished. Who's first? The first is Sophia Tancredi, to be hooded by Dor Abrahamson.
Sophia is a paragon of everything a learning scientist should be. Her work is transformative in the sense that she designs the future she wants to see, thus demonstrating that equity activism is about actually changing the circumstances for people who most need our scholarship, innovation, and rigor. Already a leader in the field of mechatronic technologies for neuroatypical students, Sophia is bound for greatness. We're proud of her and miss her already. Congratulations, Sophia.
The next is Corinne Aramburo, to be hooded by Professors Rick Mintrop and Kathleen Mortier.
Corinne, very few people pull off what you did in your wonderful doctoral work. You bring together what is often studied separately, the micro interactions of a team of special education educators with the macro quandaries of special education as an institution. With compassion, you show how the micro and the macro enabled, but also thwarted, the team's productive problem solving and emotional coping in the midst of the dire crisis of the pandemic. Well done and congratulations.
Next is Anna Zark, to be hooded by Professor Ellen Schoenfeld.
Anna is a graduate of Sesame, the graduate program in science and mathematics education. Her dissertation is a distinctive exploration of the various ways that formal mathematics texts and faculty's classroom presentations of mathematics obscure the nature of the mathematical enterprise, dehumanizing it and making it less accessible to students, even for students in advanced college math courses, the very students we hope will proceed in mathematics. Congratulations, Anna.
And next is Haita Ali Bhatti, to be hooded by Professor Robert Fall.
Ali inspires everyone he meets with his vision of the future of education. He led the HHMI Eyes Toward Tomorrow program, where students use biological principles to invent the future. Ali pioneers ways to assess student innovations and to characterize the workforce skills students need to design for inclusive excellence. His genuine compassion, empathy, and creativity consistently make the challenges students face true opportunities for betterment. Ali received an NSF postdoctoral fellowship at Santa Cruz, UC Santa Cruz, this fall.
Yay. The next is Leila Esmaili Kote, to be hooded by Professor Anne Baranga.
Lale, your boundless energy and deep commitment to equity, access, and inclusion is inspirational. Your scholarly investigations of teaching and mentoring in academic STEM internships provides much needed evidence for the development of more effective programming. We know you will continue carrying out this work and translating it into fabulous internship experiences for your students at Berkeley Lab. We look forward to continuing to work with you. Congratulations, Lale.
Yay. The next is Maria Rojas Concha, to be hooded by Tina Trujillo.
Maria joined our scholarly community in 2018 and focused on the policy and politics of education. In her dissertation entitled School Democratization in Neoliberal Chile, Uncovering the Structural Forces That Sustain Anti-Black and Anti-Immigrant Racism, Maria contributes to the scholarship on school voucher policies, of which Chile's national model of education serves as a critical case of such experiments. Congratulations, Maria, for bridging the big questions of market-oriented reforms with the big questions about democracy.
And next is Noah Katznelson, to be hooded by Laura Stoponi.
Under the captivating title, Multilingualism for Sale, Noah's dissertation offers a critical examination of how neoliberalism has impacted language education policy in California. Noah's insightful analysis reflects her unwavering commitment to policy reform and strategic pedagogy. What a pleasure to have Noah continue her involvement with us at UC Berkeley. As a dedicated and talented instructor, she currently serves as a postdoctoral fellow at the Cal GSI Teaching and Resource Center. Thank you, Noah, and congratulations.
The next is Isabella Arens, to be hooded by Professor Frank Worrell.
A school psychology graduate, Isabella will be a postdoctoral fellow at the California Pacific Medical Center's Department of Pediatrics next year, engaged in surf therapy as well as other interventions. Her research, centered on parent involvement in children's athletic and sporting activities, will be used to develop a youth sport parent curriculum to educate parents about how to enhance their children's experiences in sport and promote their mental health, psychosocial development, autonomy, and enjoyment. Congratulations, Isabella.
The next is Shari Alyssa Aronson, to be hooded by Professor Frank Worrell again.
A school psychology graduate, Sherry will join Sutter Health as a postdoctoral fellow in the fall. Her research is on the experiences of females with ADHD and mental health stigma. In her dissertation titled Infographics on ADHD Literacy Promotion and Stigma Reduction, Sherry created and examined the effectiveness of a visual-based method for providing ADHD psychoeducation to college students. Sherry plans to integrate clinical work with research and work toward combating mental health stigma. Congratulations, Sherry.
The next is Nicole Faraci, to be hooded by Frank Worrell.
Another school psychology graduate, Nicole will be joining Kendall Psychological Associates in Boston as a postdoctoral fellow in the fall. In her dissertation, Civic Standards to Practice, the Impact of Required Pedagogy on Student Outcomes, she examined civics education's impact on students' civic attitudes and behaviors. As Nikki pursues postdoctoral training in psychology licensure, she plans to publish research in support of creating equitable pathways for young people to become democratically engaged citizens. Congratulations, Nicole.
The next is Rose Cartwright, to be hooded by Professor Kate Perry.
Rose has been a student in the school psychology program. Her dissertation has forged new ground in understandings of how undergraduate students with disabilities evaluate and reason about anti-discrimination legislation, and about how related practices in universities bear on equity and inclusion. Her findings should be of benefit in improving practices in universities around ways of aiding students with disabilities. Congratulations, Rose, and best wishes.
The next is Sarah Munchanda, to be hooded by Chunyun Yang.
Sarah, a school psychology graduate student, will be joining the faculty at California State University, Los Angeles as an assistant professor. Her dissertation examined experiences of adolescents with learning disabilities during the COVID pandemic. She examined how students engaged with peers regarding bullying, looking at both those engaging in it and those who were victims of it. One special focus was on whether bullying-related activities are associated with adverse mental health outcomes. Congratulations, Sarah.
The next is Arlen Marino Luna, to be hooded by Talani Britton.
Arlen will be a UC postdoctoral fellow at UCLA in the fall. Her work explores the role of campus climate in the experiences of Latinx students in higher education. Arlen is a scholar who brings her full self to the work, a passion for increasing college access and success for Latinx students, a deep commitment to rigorous scholarship, and a willingness to learn, to teach, and to create meaningful change. Congratulations, Arlen.
The next is Michael Lee Bukal, to be hooded by Professor Chris Gutierrez.
Michael's interdisciplinary work exemplifies innovative scholarship, working at the edges of disciplines, learning sciences, public health, STEM, and indigenous scholarship to create ontological design. Michael's long-term work in Guatemala involves more than incorporating indigenous people's perspectives. Instead, he co-designed Voces y Manos to revitalize indigenous cultural practices around agroecology to address climate change and crop failure. He shows how agroecology practices are deeply entwined with cultural practices, values, and cosmologies of indigenous communities. Congratulations, Michael.
The next is Enrique Valencia Lopez, to be hooded by Chris Gutierrez.
Enrique's dissertation exemplifies the international character of his academic and scholarly experiences as a student in India and Oxford, and his fellowships in France and Luxembourg. His research examines how education policy, particularly through textbooks, contributes to shaping ethnic boundaries in Mexico and the causal effects of education to shape students' attitudes and identities. He examines barriers to education, how beliefs are shaped by representation, and how schools reinforce categories that create inequality. Congratulations, Enrique.
The next is Karen Alicia Villegas.
Karen is a consummate scholar and pedagogue. Karen's exceptional research, its social and policy consequence animate her commitment to scholarship and praxis. Karen's innovative and robust study examines how neoliberalism shapes powerful notions of citizenship among Latinx women who are working to achieve independence through acquiring their citizenship. By focusing on the language practices and the ideologies indexed in those practices in required naturalization classes, Karen engages powerful questions of citizenship and the ensuing policies. Congratulations, Karen.
The next is Derek Holliday, to be hooded by me.
Derek is graduating in our PhD program in school psychology, and he will be continuing his counseling and guidance work in local school districts. His research Differential item functioning on the parental burnout assessment examines how parental burnout differs in complex ways among different countries. It's an important piece of scholarship that will help both researchers and clinicians understand this important aspect of parenting. Congratulations, Derek.
And the last one for tonight is Bowen Wan Kildegard, to be hooded by me.
Warmest congratulations to Bowen, a distinguished graduate of our PhD program in Learning Sciences and Human Development. We're delighted to announce his appointment to the faculty of Arizona State University's Psychology Department. Bowen's dissertation, entitled "The Effect of Form-Meaning Consistency on Word Learning Through Reading, Are Pseudo-Neighbors Harder to Learn?" is an example of scholarly excellence illuminating the intricacies of the brain's semantic network in linguistic acquisition. Here's to your continued success, Bowen. Congratulations.
We're going to have a brief interlude so that he can get his photo. I would say, how about another round of applause for the graduates while we wait for everybody to be together? Will the candidates for Doctor of Philosophy please stand? By the power vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, it is my incredible privilege to grant you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Congratulations.
So congratulations, Doctors of Philosophy, Masters of Arts, Doctors of Education. We are very excited for you. And now Distinguished Professor and Conductor Frank Worrell will lead the Berkeley Way West Choir in singing a song that is chosen in tribute to our graduates.
Thank you, congratulations. Congratulations to all. We are running late, so we were supposed to do 3 pieces. We will just do 1. But I just wanted to tell you, the first piece was a gift of music. The second piece ended with Berkeley Was Once My Home, BSE. And the third piece we hope you'll join us in. I think you'll recognize it. It speaks to the times. It speaks to hope, as our keynote speaker spoke to us about. Thank you.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand we shall overcome someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday.
Thank you, Professor Worrell and the Berkeley Way West Choir for that beautiful tribute to our graduates. Please join me in a round of applause for our splendid choir, our magnificent keynote speaker, Mae Jemison, and our fabulous student speakers, Maria Rojas Concha, Amy Eagle, and Olufemi Olugando. I also wish to thank the Berkeley School of Education staff who have worked so diligently behind the scenes to make this event a success. Please join me in thanking Jeanette Luong, Rosa Garcia, Liliana Hernandez, Jennifer Elmrani, Maya Cisneros, Stephanie Zhang, Dara Tom, Ashley Leach, Christina Bermudez, and Allison Cesario. And now I invite you to join our Berkeley School of Education commencement reception outside in the plaza following the ceremony. Guests, please do remain seated as the faculty and graduates rise to recess to the mezzanine. And after the graduation procession, guests are welcome to follow the graduates into the plaza for refreshments. Will the faculty please rise? Will the graduates please rise? Congratulations, everyone.